All right. Well, hey, we're here for our first interview here at ngATL. I'm here with Sam. I don't know your last name, Sam.
Oh, it's Julien.
Julien.
Yeah, Sam Julien.
Awesome. And you're here from Portland.
Portland, Oregon. Yep.
And we lined up a lot of this mostly for speakers and stuff, but you've got an interesting project that you've been working on, and so I thought we could just talk about it here for a few minutes and give people an idea of what you're working on. So do you want to talk briefly about upgrading AngularJS.com?
Yeah. Thanks, Chuck. So about a year ago, I had to migrate some large applications from AngularJS to Angular, and I just got super frustrated at the lack of resources. And there's some good documentation from the Angular team, but it doesn't really delve into the nitty-gritty of how to do it step by step. So essentially, I just made the course that I wish I had had a year ago. So I put out 200 screencasts, quiz questions, really gets into the fine detail of like setting up Webpack and TypeScript and ng upgrade. And I'm really proud of it. I think it's the best ng upgrade resource on the planet at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talk about the documentation from the Angular team, right? And what they've put together with ng upgrade and things like that. But I think my favorite example of this is a little more stark is I've spent quite a long time in the Ruby community, and people talk about Mats and how he's their favorite Ruby developer, but he's not a Ruby developer. He's a C developer, and his product is Ruby. And similar with the Angular team, right? They're building Angular in TypeScript and JavaScript and stuff like that. And so they're not in the thick of upgrading apps, right?
Right.
And so they tell you how they intend it to work, and they have people from the community add to that documentation. But when it all comes down to it, they're not experts on upgrading from Angular to or AngularJS to Angular.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they've obviously done a great job with building Angular, and the Docs team does a great job too.
Yep.
I don't want to knock them at all, but right, exactly. They're not in the trenches at these kind of what I call workhorse companies building payment platforms and insurance platforms and things like that are just sort of, you're in the trenches every day and you're just trying to fix bugs, keep features going, and you don't have lots of time to put towards technical debt, which is essentially what upgrading is. It's just a huge amount of technical debt,
Yeah. Well, and the Angular team just announced an LTS plan for AngularJS.
Right.
So I think some people are seeing a little bit of handwriting on the wall that they don't intend to continue to add features to it and support it forever.
Right.
And I think the community will continue to support it even if the Angular team didn't. But at the same time, it's the system. We use it. We need it. And, why not get all the niceties of the new stuff that they're putting into Angular? And so, why not upgrade?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the way I kind of put it is, AngularJS existed in a lot of different forms. Like I've worked on .NET MVC applications that have AngularJS shoved into it as kind of like a glorified jQuery that's just doing data binding. And,
right.
And those apps, maybe you don't need to migrate. That's totally fine. If that stuff is working and you're not developing on it, leave it. I mean, you don't need that. But
right.
If you're working on a big AngularJS application that you're doing active development on, in the long run, it's gonna help you to have TypeScript and Webpack and things like that. There's a lot of pain going from the old world of script tags and that kind of thing into the new world of modules, but it's completely and totally worth it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also just want to chime in here real quick. It's kind of a non sequitur, but Progress, who makes Kendo UI, sponsored me to come out, so I do want to thank them. Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, too. I mean, you look at these big projects. And that's the other thing is you talk about technical debt. Well, it's your whole app that you have to rewrite.
Right. It's a huge amount of technical debt. Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you get started? I mean, what do you do? I guess I could spoil part of your course, but...
Well, yeah. I kind of broke it down. So my project, there's 3 courses, basically. The first one is basically getting to best practices for AngularJS, where you're getting to component architecture. You're going. We actually start the course with AngularJS 1.3 with an application that's not using best practices. We've got things like controllers in controllers folder and directives in directives folder. The old school how we used to do it in 2014, basically. So I purposefully started the course that way because I know there's tons of code out there. And we go through migrating to NPM. We go through updating to AngularJS 1.6. It will be 1.7. I'll update that. And then getting to component architecture. So that's the end of course 1. And then course 2 is all about Webpack, TypeScript, bundling. And that's the hardest part of the whole process and the most time consuming. It's also, unfortunately, the part of the process that's difficult to do iteratively. And then course 3 is all about ngApgrade and moving to Angular. And that is, again, iterative. So 1 and 3, you can take as long as you want to get those done. You know, you can do them gradually over time. And then the end of the course. So by the end of the course, you've taken this app that started with AngularJS 1.3 using script tags and not even using the John Papa style guide, all the way to Angular 4, Webpack, TypeScript, the whole 9 yards. And there's a sample app on GitHub that goes right along with the videos. So
that's really great. And I mean, yeah, if somebody can walk you through it, I mean, imagine how much trouble you save people by not having them have to, oh, now I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Now what?
That's really what I'm hoping.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, I really literally put like hundreds of hours into this process, and that's really what I want, is to share that with the world, because I hope that me doing that saves people hundreds of hours of like weeding through, going from Gulp to Webpack and understanding how module loaders work and all that stuff. I really wanted to like step by step go through that without any of the hand waving or kind of like, oh yeah, it just works, I promise, you know, like. That was kind of what I was hoping. Yeah,
back in December, I put a tweet out and I asked, well, why haven't you upgraded from Angular 1.x or AngularJS? And I wasn't trying to pick on people. I just wanted to understand, right?
Yeah.
You know, what's hanging you up? What are you stuck on? What do you care about? Why is this an issue, right? And a few people were snarky and they said, well, now I'm moving over to Vue or something, right? But a lot of people, it was the things that you mentioned. It was the Webpack and the TypeScript and the changes in Angular 2, 4, 5.
6, 7.
Well, yeah. And so, just understanding the process of getting from where you are to where you want to wind up. And then once you're upgraded, then you get all the niceties of Angular elements and, as they continue to upgrade material design and things like that, you can get all of the work that people are putting in for the modern stuff that I just don't think people are really maintaining as much for AngularJS. So you still have Angular material, but, for AngularJS, it's based on older specs.
Right.
And just to have that way to move forward, into the next generation of whatever we wind up with on the web, it just makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, and that is a common question is, well, why don't I just switch to React or Vue? And because people kind of equate moving to Angular 2, 4, 5 with moving to React or Vue, and
they are pretty different.
They are different, but either way, so there is sort of an overlap with module loading and bundling and things like that. Where either way, you're going to have to go from the old world into the new world. There's just no way around it. But if you have to go all the way to React or Vue, you're going to have to learn a whole new ecosystem. You know, there's no ngApgrade between AngularJS and React, React upgrade. I mean, that's a whole different rewrite. If you've got a bunch of senior developers on your team who write React, maybe that is the right solution for you. But if you've been in the Angular world for these few years, I promise the process now is very well defined. And either way, you're going to have to move to like Webpack. You might not have to move to TypeScript, but you are going to need to move into modules and bundling and all that. So it just makes sense now.
Well, the other thing is I mean, a lot of people said, well, it's basically a new framework, and in some ways it really is. But I mean, if you squint at a component in Angular, you're going to see a lot of elements and some of the same shape you saw with your directives and controllers.
Right.
So, it does get you there. You just have to figure out where all the pieces live now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, cool. So if people want to sign up, where do they go?
Just go to www.upgradingangularjs.com. We've got like a brief course sampler that you can look at. We've also got a full, super detailed demo that you can look at. Really appreciate it.
Yep. So if I'm Joe developer and I just want to learn this for my own whatever, is this course for me? Or is it more geared toward, hey, you know, I've got a team of people, we've got a huge app, we got to upgrade it? Or is it for both?
It really could be for both. I mean, you can always reach out to us, and we can help figure out the best solution for you as an individual or for your team. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking for a minute.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chuck. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll sit down and with the rest of the panel and we'll do a real discussion on this at some point.
That'd be awesome. I would really love that.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thank you.